Have you ever wondered why some men vanish from a woman's memory like smoke, while others linger for years, long after the relationship ends? Why she forgets the man who gave her everything, but still dreams about the one who only gave her 5 unforgettable things? In this video, you'll discover the 5 powerful behaviors that women never forget, no matter how much time passes. And what's even more fascinating, they all align with the timeless wisdom of Marcus Aurelius. So if you're tired of feeling disposable, if you're ready to stop chasing and start commanding memory and respect, watch this video till the end. It will change your love life forever. And if you're serious about becoming the kind of man who lives with clarity, power, and purpose, hit that like button, subscribe to the Stoic Sage, and share this with a brother who needs to hear it. Not all men are remembered equally. Some fade quietly into a woman's past. Others remain carved into the architecture of her soul. But here's the harsh truth most men never realize. It's not what you give her that makes you unforgettable. It's who you are when you give it. There's a man out there, maybe it's you, who's bought gifts, sent long messages, tried everything to prove his love, and yet, she moved on like it meant nothing. Meanwhile, there's another man who didn't even try that hard. He stayed calm, he stayed still. He moved like stone, spoke like thunder, and somehow, she still checks his Instagram. She still compares every man to him. She still dreams about the day he looked into her eyes and saw through her. That's the power of presence. And Marcus Aurelius, the Roman emperor and Stoic philosopher, wrote the blueprint for that kind of presence centuries ago. Let's explore the 5 things women never forget. 1. The man who leads himself first. Have you ever loved someone so deeply that you started losing yourself in the process? You adjusted your words to please her. You changed your routine for her comfort. You even questioned your own identity, just to make sure she'd stay. Does that sound familiar? If it does, this story is about you. Because every man, at least once, has been there. Let me take you back to a moment. Not just any moment. Your moment you met her, she smiled. And in that smile, you saw peace, beauty, maybe even your future. You felt something shift inside you. And suddenly, without even noticing, you started orbiting her world. Maybe at first it felt exciting. She'd text and your heart would jump. She'd laugh and you felt like you mattered. But over time, you began to notice something darker. You became reactive. Her moods dictated your mood. Her silence triggered your insecurities. And your own plans, your dreams, your goals, they started collecting dust. All because somewhere along the way, you stopped leading yourself. Marcus Aurelius warned us. A man should be upright, not kept upright. But when we give away our power, hoping love will return it to us, we're no longer upright. We're just bending, waiting, hoping. Now let me ask you this. Was that really love? Or was it fear of being forgotten? Because here's the truth. She will never remember the man who chased her, but she will never forget the man who led himself. The unforgettable man doesn't react to every silence. He doesn't lose sleep over every unanswered text. He has a compass inside him and it always points forward. With or without her, he doesn't ask, how can I make her stay? He asks, how do I stay true to myself even when she leaves? Think about your past relationships. Was there ever a moment where you looked in the mirror and didn't recognize who you became for her? That's the pain of self-betrayal, and that pain is more brutal than heartbreak. But here's the good news. You can take your power back, right now, by leading yourself first. Wake up tomorrow with purpose, not to win her back, but to win yourself back. Speak not to impress, but to express truth. Walk not for attention, but because your path calls you. Because when a man becomes grounded in who he is, he becomes magnetic. He no longer needs to be remembered. He becomes unforgettable by nature. And that's when she feels it, that shift, that strength, that rare masculine presence that doesn't need her, but chooses her from a place of wholeness, that she never forgets. So if this feels like your story, then don't just nod and move on. Make a decision, today, to lead yourself first. You owe it to the man in the mirror. And trust me, brother, that man is worth remembering. 2. The man who remains calm in her storm. If you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of it. Marcus Aurelius. Let me ask you something real. Have you ever been in love with a woman whose emotions felt like waves crashing against you? One moment she was warm, smiling, soft. The next, distant, cold, silent, or worse, emotional and explosive. You sat there wondering, what did I do wrong? Why is she pushing me away? You replayed the conversation in your mind, again and again. You even said sorry when you weren't sure why, just to calm the storm. But here's the truth most men never hear. It's not your job to control her storm. It's your job to stay grounded in your own calm. Let me tell you a story. A man once told me about the woman he loved deeply. She was beautiful, passionate, wild in spirit, but emotionally unpredictable. One evening out of nowhere, she started yelling at him over something small. He tried to explain himself, tried to defend, tried to fix her feelings. It only made it worse. That night he sat alone on his bed broken, not because of her anger, but because he felt weak. He had lost control, not of her, but of himself. Sound familiar? That's when he found this quote from Marcus Aurelius. You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength. That's when something shifted. He realized he had been trying to soothe her before mastering himself. And so he began training, not in physical strength, but in emotional stillness. The next time she got emotional, he didn't match her chaos. He didn't raise his voice. He didn't try to win the argument. He stayed calm, breathed, spoke slowly, listened without reacting. And you know what happened? She eventually softened, because she realized she couldn't move him. Not because he didn't care, but because he wasn't ruled by emotion. That, my friend, is rare, and anything rare becomes unforgettable. Every woman remembers the man who didn't flinch, the one who didn't run when she broke down, the one who held his center when she lost hers. Most men match fire with fire, but the Stoic man, he brings water, he brings silence, he brings peace, and that peace is addictive, because in a world of emotional reactivity, a man who remains still becomes a lighthouse, not just for her, but for himself. Let me ask you, in your last relationship, were you the lighthouse? Or the ship crashing into rocks? Did you anchor her in peace? Or drown trying to swim in her emotions? If you've been there, you're not alone. But from this day forward, you don't need to repeat that story. You can become the man who remains calm in her storm, the man who doesn't try to fix her, but reflects strength by being unshaken. Because when she meets a man like that, she may get angry, she may cry, but in the silence of her mind, she will remember you forever. 3. The man who has purpose bigger than her beauty. Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. Be one. Marcus Aurelius. Let me ask you something powerful. Have you ever fallen in love so deeply that her beauty started becoming your purpose? You stopped chasing your goals. You stopped calling your friends. You stopped showing up for your own life, because every part of you was orbiting her world. She became your morning motivation, your afternoon distraction, your nightly obsession. You lived for her texts. You stayed up for her calls. You bent your routine to fit hers, and in your heart you whispered, she's the one. I'll do anything to keep her. But here's the truth. That kind of love doesn't make you memorable. It makes you forgettable. Because a woman never truly admires the man who makes her his mission. She remembers the man whose mission was already bigger than her. Let me take you back to a moment in your life, the moment before her. When you used to wake up with purpose, you had dreams, ambition. You were building something, whether it was a business, a body, a book, or a vision. And then she came, beautiful, magnetic, soft, and sweet. And slowly, your mission started to fade because you traded your fire for her attention. But here's the question. What happens when the attention fades? What's left of you when she stops clapping? What do you stand for when she's not watching? Marcus Aurelius reminds us, don't talk about what a good man should be, just be one. Being a good man isn't about making her happy every day. It's about becoming a man so aligned with purpose that even if she walks away, you stay standing. Let me tell you a story. There was a man who was deeply in love with a woman beyond words. But he also had a dream. He wanted to become a writer. Not a casual hobbyist, but one of the greatest of his generation. As they grew closer, she started saying things like, "Why do you work so much? Can't you take a break and just focus on us?" He had a choice. Let go of the mission, or let go of her. He chose the mission. And though it broke his heart years later, she called him. Not because she wanted him back, but because she never forgot him. Because purpose leaves a fingerprint deeper than pleasure. Here's the hard truth, brother. A woman may desire your love, but she will respect your purpose. And in the end, the men who are remembered are the men who kept building, even when love asked them to stop. So let me ask you this. Are you building something right now? Or have you abandoned your purpose to chase someone else's approval? Because a man without purpose is a man without gravity. And a man without gravity can't hold anyone close, not even himself. But when you live with purpose, you become the mountain, not the chaser. In mountains, she never forgets the mountain. Even if she walks away from it, she'll always remember the way it made her feel small, in the best way possible. 4. The man who can walk away without hatred. Have you ever been left by someone you gave everything to? She said she loved you. Maybe she cried in your arms, made promises, shared secrets, and then one day she changed. Her texts got shorter, her voice colder, until one day, she just disappeared. No closure, no explanation, just silence. What did you do after that? Maybe you tried to reach out. Maybe you sent that long message, just hoping she'd understand how much she hurt you. Maybe you posted something just to get her attention. Maybe even out of anger, tried to make her jealous. If you did, you're not alone. We've all been there. Because heartbreak, especially betrayal, triggers the ugliest parts of us. But here's the brutal truth. That kind of reaction doesn't make you unforgettable. It makes you replaceable. Because when you let her actions shape your emotions, you give away your power. But the man she never forgets is the man who walked away without hatred. Let me tell you a story. There was a man who gave everything to a woman. For 2 years, they were inseparable. He helped her through pain, supported her dreams, loved her without limits. Then one day, she simply said, "I'm not in love anymore." No real reason, no dramatic fight, just a cold goodbye. He felt like his soul had been ripped out. But here's what he didn't do. He didn't chase. He didn't call her a name. He didn't post for revenge. He sat in silence, let the pain wash through him. And then, he walked away, clean. A few months later, she messaged him. "I don't know why, but I can't stop thinking about you." That's what happens when a man chooses character over chaos. He becomes a mystery, a mirror, a memory, because she expected war, and he gave her peace. Marcus Aurelius said, "The best revenge is to be unlike him who performed the injustice." Let her lie, let her ghost, let her betray. You stay noble, stay grounded, not for her, but for the man you are becoming. Because when you walk away with grace, you close the door without slamming it. And that silence, that emotional stillness, it echoes long after your footsteps are gone. Let me ask you, who do you want to be remembered as? The man who lashed out like a wounded boy, or the man who bowed out like a king? Because a man who walks away without hatred is a man who has mastered his emotions, and mastery is unforgettable. So the next time someone disrespects your love, don't react. Don't beg. Don't fight for closure. Be the closure. Walk away, like a storm that never touches the ground. And know this, she may never tell you, but in the silence of her mind, she remembers you. Not because of what you did to her, but because of what you refused to do back. 5. The man who loves without losing himself. Have you ever loved someone so much you started disappearing just to keep them close? You said yes when you wanted to say no. You smiled when you were hurting inside. You sacrificed your passions, your peace, your identity, just to make her happy. But in the end, she left anyway. Why? Because here's one of the hardest truths a man will ever have to face. Love that cost you yourself was never love. It was submission disguised as romance. Let me take you back to that moment in your life when it felt like she was everything. Her laughter made your day. Her validation made you feel like you mattered. And somewhere deep down, you believed, if I just give her more, she'll never leave. So you gave, and gave, and gave, until one day you looked in the mirror, and you couldn't even recognize yourself. Not because of her, but because you had abandoned you. That is the death Marcus Aurelius warned us about. Not physical death, but the death of your own soul while you're still breathing. It is not death that a man should fear, but never beginning to live. You see, a woman may be drawn to your love, but she falls in love with your essence. The part of you that is rooted, whole, and unshakable, not the version that molds to her every mood just to keep the peace. There's a story I'll never forget. A man deeply in love with a woman who kept threatening to leave unless he changed. "Stop hanging out with your friends," she'd say. "Spend more time with me or else." And because he was afraid to lose her, he agreed. But the more he bent, the more she pulled away. Why? Because every time he gave up a piece of himself, she lost a piece of the man she once admired. Eventually, she left anyway. And the man? He was devastated, not just by the breakup, but by the realization that he lost himself trying to keep her. Let me ask you now, is that your story too? Have you ever dimmed your light so she'd shine brighter? Because here's the truth every man must understand. A woman never forgets the man who loves her deeply, but refuses to disappear for her. He doesn't fold under pressure. He doesn't abandon his path for temporary affection. He brings his full self to the table and invites her to do the same. That's stoic love. It's not passive, it's powerful, and it's rare. And anything rare stays in her memory forever. So if you're going to love, love fully, love fearlessly, but never lose the man you were before she came along. Because that man is the reason she was drawn to you in the first place. And when you protect him, you protect everything that makes you unforgettable. Closing, you don't need money, gifts, or constant effort to be remembered. You need clarity. You need stillness. You need to remember who you are, even when emotions pull you away. Marcus Aurelius didn't chase love. He cultivated character, and in doing so, he became unforgettable. So if you want to be the man she never forgets, don't try to impress her, impress your soul first. Because when a man becomes unshakable on the inside, he becomes unforgettable on the outside. With that said, thanks for watching, and until next time, subscribe to the Stoic Sage and become the man she never forgets.